What if I told you that one of South Korea's most beloved actors was once humiliated on a film set, kicked out like a nobody, only for the crew to discover they had just thrown out the actual owner of the location? This isn't just another celebrity scandal. This is the story of Kim Soo-hyun's most shocking moment that almost ended his career before it truly began, and how a single act of revenge changed everything. Picture this, a young actor, already, making waves in the Korean entertainment industry, walking onto what he thought was just another filming location. But what happened next would shake the foundations of respect, hierarchy, and power in Korean cinema. The fallout was so intense that it's still whispered about in Seoul's entertainment circles today. If you're ready to dive deep into the untold story that reveals the darker side of fame, and the moment Kim Soo-hyun proved that sometimes the quiet ones hold all the cards, then make sure to hit that subscribe button and let's uncover the truth together. Trust me, you won't believe how this story ends. It was a crisp autumn morning in 2011, and the narrow streets of Bukchon-Hanak village in Seoul were buzzing with unusual activity. Traditional Korean houses, with their elegant curved roof tiles and wooden beams, had been transformed into a bustling film set. The ancient neighborhood, usually filled with tourists admiring centuries-old architecture, was now crowded with cameras, lighting equipment, and crew members rushing around with clipboards and headsets. Kim Soo-hyun had just finished his breakfast at a small cafe nearby, savoring his usual Americano while reading through his script notes. At 23, he was still building his reputation, having recently gained attention for his role in Dream High. The morning air was cool against his face as he walked through the cobblestone paths, his casual attire, dark jeans and a simple navy sweater, making him blend seamlessly with the early morning joggers and local residents. As he approached the filming area, something felt off. The energy was different than what he expected. Crew members were setting up expensive equipment around a particular hanok that caught his attention immediately. It was a beautifully preserved traditional house with intricate dancing paintwork in vibrant blues, reds, and greens decorating the wooden brackets. The courtyard was meticulously maintained, with a small garden featuring carefully pruned pine trees and stone lanterns. What Soo-hyun didn't know was that this wasn't just any random location. The production team had been desperately searching for the perfect traditional setting for their upcoming historical drama, and they had stumbled upon this particular hanok through a location scout who had connections with a property management company. The paperwork had been rushed, contracts signed quickly, and everyone assumed everything was legitimate. The first sign of trouble came when Soo-hyun approached the main entrance. A burly security guard, hired by the production company, immediately stepped in front of him with an aggressive stance. The man was easily 6 feet tall, with arms crossed, and a stern expression that made it clear he wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. "Hey, you can't be here," the guard barked in Korean, his voice carrying the authority of someone used to being obeyed. "This is a closed set. No tourists, no locals, no exceptions." Soo-hyun paused, genuinely confused. He pulled out his phone to double-check the address and call time he had received from his management company. Everything seemed correct. The traditional hanok matched the description perfectly, and the timing was exactly what his schedule indicated. "I think there might be a misunderstanding," Soo-hyun replied politely, his voice calm despite the guard's aggressive tone. "I'm Kim Soo-hyun. I'm supposed to be here for the filming today." The guard looked him up and down dismissively, clearly unimpressed by the young man's casual appearance and soft-spoken demeanor. In his experience, real actors arrived in expensive cars with entourages, not walking alone through the neighborhood like a college student. What happened next would become one of the most talked-about incidents in Korean entertainment industry circles, though it would take years for the full story to emerge. The security guard's laugh was harsh and mocking. "Kim Soo-hyun, right, and I'm Song Joong-ki," he said, referencing another popular actor. "Listen, kid, I don't know what game you're playing, but this isn't some tourist attraction where you can just walk in and pretend to be famous." By now, several crew members had noticed the commotion. A middle-aged assistant director approached, his clipboard in hand, and a look of annoyance on his face. The morning was already running behind schedule, and the last thing they needed was some overeager fan causing disruptions. "What's the problem here?" the assistant director asked, his tone sharp with impatience. "This guy claims he's Kim Soo-hyun," the guard explained, barely containing his amusement. "Says he's supposed to be filming here today." The assistant director barely glanced at Soo-hyun before shaking his head. "Kim Soo-hyun is supposed to arrive with his manager in a company car. This is obviously just some kid trying to get onto the set." He turned to Soo-hyun with a condescending smile. "Look, I'm sure you're a big fan, but this is a professional production. You can't just walk onto a film set." Soo-hyun felt his cheeks burn with embarrassment as more crew members gathered around, some chuckling at what they perceived as an amusing interruption to their busy morning. He tried calling his manager, but the phone went straight to voicemail. His agency's number was busy. Every attempt to verify his identity seemed to make the situation worse. "I understand the confusion," Soo-hyun said, maintaining his composure despite the growing humiliation. "But if you could just check with the production office, or maybe call Key East Entertainment, they can confirm." "Enough," the assistant director interrupted, his patience completely exhausted. "Security, please escort this gentleman off the property. We have a schedule to keep, and we can't have fans disrupting our work." The humiliation reached its peak when the security guard grabbed Soo-hyun's arm, not roughly, but firmly enough to make it clear this wasn't a request. As they walked toward the entrance, Soo-hyun could hear crew members laughing and making jokes about delusional fans and wannabe actors. The traditional Hanok's beautiful architecture suddenly felt like a prison, its elegant walls witnesses to his public embarrassment. But here's where the story takes its most incredible turn, and because what none of these people knew was about to change everything. What do you think happened next? Could you imagine being in Soo-hyun's position, humiliated in front of an entire film crew? Let me know in the comments what you would have done in this situation. As Soo-hyun was being escorted toward the main gate, a black sedan pulled up to the entrance. Out stepped an elderly man in his 70s, impeccably dressed in a traditional Korean suit. His presence immediately commanded respect. There was something about his bearing that spoke of old money and established power. This was Mr. Park, the patriarch of one of Seoul's most influential real estate families. What happened next sent shockwaves through everyone present. "Soo-hyuna," the elderly man called out warmly, using the affectionate Korean suffix that indicated familiarity and fondness. "What are you doing here so early? I thought the filming wasn't supposed to start until this afternoon." The security guard's grip on Soo-hyun's arm loosened immediately. The assistant director's face went pale. Crew members stopped their conversations mid-sentence, sensing that something significant was unfolding. Soo-hyun bowed respectfully to the elderly man. "Grandfather Park, there seems to be some confusion about the shooting schedule. These gentlemen believe I'm not supposed to be here." The term Grandfather Park wasn't just a polite honorific. It revealed a relationship that no one on the production team had been aware of. Mr. Park had been like a grandfather figure to Soo-hyun since childhood, and their families had been close for decades. Mr. Park's expression shifted from warm greeting to cold displeasure as he took in the scene, his surrogate grandson being physically removed from the property by security, crew members staring in obvious confusion, and the general air of disrespect that hung in the morning air. "I see," Mr. Park said quietly, his voice carrying the kind of authority that comes from decades of commanding respect in Seoul's business circles. "And who, exactly, gave permission for this filming to take place on my property?" The silence that followed was deafening. The assistant director's clipboard slipped from his hands, clattering onto the stone courtyard. The security guard took several steps back, suddenly realizing the magnitude of his mistake. Your property?" the assistant director stammered. "Mr. Park smiled, but it wasn't a warm expression. "This Hanok has been in my family for 4 generations. We've preserved it exactly as my great-grandfather built it in 1923. Every stone in this courtyard, every piece of Danshong paintwork, every carefully maintained garden element, all of it belongs to my family. The revelation hit the crew like a physical blow. Not only had they just humiliated one of Korea's rising stars, but they had done so while illegally occupying private property. The contracts they thought were legitimate were apparently fraudulent, signed by someone who had no authority to grant access to the Park family estate. But the story gets even more incredible from here. What Mr. Park revealed next would expose a web of deception that reached into the highest levels of the Korean entertainment industry. The interesting thing, Mr. Park continued, his voice remaining eerily calm, is that my property management company called me yesterday to confirm that we had never authorized any filming here. Apparently, someone forged documents and signatures to gain access to this location. The assistant director was now visibly sweating despite the cool autumn air. He frantically began making phone calls, trying to reach the production manager, who had secured the location. But as the pieces fell into place, a disturbing picture emerged. The location scout who had found this perfect hanok had been working with a corrupt intermediary who specialized in providing access to exclusive locations through fraudulent means. They had been operating this scheme for months, targeting traditional properties owned by wealthy families who might not immediately notice unauthorized use of their estates. But here's where Kim Soo-hyun's character truly shone through the chaos. Instead of demanding apologies or threatening legal action, Soo-hyun quietly approached the assistant director. "What's the production timeline?" he asked simply. The assistant director, still in shock, managed to explain that they were already behind schedule, had invested significant money in equipment and crew, and would face massive financial losses if they couldn't film that day. Soo-hyun turned to Mr. Park and spoke in low tones for several minutes. The elderly man's expression gradually softened as they conversed, and eventually, he nodded with what appeared to be grudging approval. "Here's what's going to happen," Soo-hyun announced to the gathered crew. "Mr. Park has agreed to allow the filming to continue today, under one condition." The relief on everyone's faces was palpable, but they waited nervously for the condition that would determine their fate. "Every crew member who was present during the incident at the gate will personally apologize to both Mr. Park and myself, not because we're demanding it, but because respect and professionalism should be the foundation of any collaborative work." The security guard, who had been so dismissive earlier, was the first to step forward. His bow was deep, and his apology genuine, tinged with the realization of how badly he had misjudged the situation. One by one, crew members approached to offer their apologies. But the assistant director's apology was different. It came with tears of genuine remorse and gratitude for the second chance they were being given. "Thank you so much for sticking with this story. I know it's been quite a journey, but trust me, the best part is absolutely yet to come." What happens next will show you exactly why Kim Soo-hyun became not just a star, but a respected figure throughout the Korean entertainment industry. The filming that day became legendary for reasons no one could have anticipated. Word of the morning's events spread quickly through the crew, and the atmosphere on set transformed completely. What had started as just another routine filming day became a masterclass in professionalism, humility, and the power of giving second chances. Soo-hyun's performance that day was extraordinary. Fueled by the morning's emotional roller coaster, he brought a depth and authenticity to his character that surprised even the director. The scenes filmed in Mr. Park's hanok would later become some of the most critically acclaimed moments of the entire production. But perhaps more importantly, the way Soo-hyun handled the situation created ripple effects that would influence his career for years to come. The assistant director, whose name was Kim Min-woo, would go on to become a successful director himself. He never forgot the lesson in grace and professionalism that Soo-hyun demonstrated that day, and would later cast him in several major productions. The security guard, whose name was Lee Jong-soo, was so moved by the experience that he completely changed his approach to his work. He became known throughout the industry as one of the most respectful and professional security personnel, often sharing the story of the day I learned not to judge by appearances. Even Mr. Park was so impressed by the day's filming and Soo-hyun's handling of the situation that he began regularly allowing his family properties to be used for film and television productions, always with the stipulation that Kim Soo-hyun's management company would oversee the arrangements. The hanok itself became something of a pilgrimage site for young actors and crew members who heard the story. It represented the importance of humility, the power of second chances, and the idea that true character is revealed not in moments of triumph, but in moments of challenge. Years later, when Soo-hyun's career reached international heights with My Love from the Star and It's Okay to Not Be Okay, he would often reflect on that autumn morning in Bukchon Hanok village. In interviews, he would credit the experience with teaching him that respect and professionalism are not luxuries reserved for when things go smoothly. They are essentials that define who you are when everything goes wrong. The fraudulent location, Scout was eventually caught and prosecuted, but by then, his unintended crime had created something beautiful, a story about dignity, forgiveness, and the way one person's character can transform an entire situation. And that's the incredible true story of how Kim Soo-hyun was kicked out of a film set, only for everyone to discover he was connected to the actual owner of the location. But more than just a story about mistaken identity or a twist of fate, this is really a story about character, both the character we see on screen and the character we show when no one is watching. What strikes me most about this story is how it reveals the kind of person Soo-hyun really is beneath all the fame and success. He could have been vindictive, could have used his connection to Mr. Park to humiliate those who had embarrassed him. Instead, he chose grace, professionalism, and the kind of leadership that transforms situations rather than just winning them. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story. Have you ever been in a situation where you were judged unfairly based on appearances? How do you think you would have handled being in Soo-hyun's position that day? And what do you think this story reveals about the pressures and challenges that celebrities face, even in situations that seem straightforward? Drop your comments below. I read every single one and love hearing your perspectives on these stories. And speaking of stories that will surprise you, I'm going to leave a suggestion for another incredible tale about a Korean celebrity that will absolutely blow your mind. Trust me, you won't see the ending coming.